So we sort of, for those people who've been here before, this is Annie.
Hey, Annie.
And that's Sarah, Clara. Clara, excuse me. So we started doing things a little different tonight than progressive Dems usually do because it's 2018 and we're sort of morphing into a different mode, I think, but you tell me. We're going to try to get to, if everyone has this sheet which gives you the minutes of our last meeting, the agenda tonight, and also the treasurer is not here yet, but so we'll probably postpone the treasurer's report. Though this is the annual meeting of the Progressive Democrats, which means we elect officers and we collect dues. And dues currently are $10. Later on the agenda, we may vote to increase that, so it may go up to $25. So now's a good time to pay your dues for 2018. If you didn't bring cash, you can still fill out a form over there, and we can pay later. No worries. So, welcomes and introductions, treasurer's report. Our treasurer, there's Judy. Hi, Judy. Judy Karras is the treasurer. So the current officers are myself, Gary Carnes, as chair, Natalie Gray, vice chair, and treasurer is Judy Karras, secretary Bob Coble, and we have a representative to the Monterey County Democratic Central Committee, Alan Haffa, over here. And Judy just got here. Judy already made copies of that.
You did, very good.
Yeah.
The meeting starts, I thought at 6:30, did I make it?
6 o'clock.
Oh, you changed it, oh my God.
So,
Okay.
so we, I think I'll give Judy a little time to
Thank you.
settle in. And the secretary's report, for those people who, the minutes on the back, I don't know nobody's read the minutes, nobody ever reads the minutes.
I read the minutes.
You did? You stand corrected. If there's people want to take a quick look at that, we can take a motion to approve the minutes as presented. I just want to do that before I do welcome and introductions, actually.
Teach me to read my emails. I'll do it.
There's copies of that
I
over
make you
there.
small copies. Or do you have copies of the treasurer?
So, all those in favor of adopting the minutes as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So the treasurer's report. Judy, you want to say something about that?
Sure, we're solvent, and we have $623, and let me just read the amount here. Minus $50 because I just paid for the renewal of our state fees to the Secretary of State. So it would be, let's see, total amount is $623.23 minus 50, so that would be $573, I believe, 23. And we are, again, making some copies of the membership fees for this year. I believe it's still $10. And you've got some over there. And if anybody wants to pay tonight, that's fine. If you could make it as legible as you can, because I enter the information on the Excel sent, a spreadsheet. And it's helpful to have your correct email address and phone number, etc. And there are separate forms you already explained for non-members and members. Is that correct?
Progressive Dems is a Democratic Party organization, so it's primarily focused on, works within and also outside of the Democratic Party, which, because of our bylaws and our sort of philosophy, we do have members who are not Democrats, which are folks who are Greens, Independents, or folks who are not registered to vote, but they want to be politically active with the Progressive Democrats. So they're not voting members, but they're still members who can participate. And so if you're not a Democrat, you can still be a member of the Progressive Democrats. Okay, Judy, thanks for the treasurer's report.
Yeah, I have extras if anybody wants any, I'll leave them on the table. I cut them in thirds, I usually do in thirds. What else? Oh, there they are.
It might be up
It
front.
is.
Already done.
Okay, so the treasurer's report. How about a motion to adopt?
So,
Second, anybody?
Yeah, second.
Okay, Bob's taking your spot. Bob's taking minutes. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
So let me go back to welcomes and introductions, because I know there's maybe some people that are new or haven't been here before. First of all, again, the Progressive Dems is an affiliate of the Monterey County Democratic Central Committee, which is the official body of the Democratic Party, and associated with the California Democratic Party and the National Democratic Party. So that's sort of the chain of command. Come on in.
Thank you.
And we're also affiliated with the Progressive Democrats of America, which is a separate organization. And what does it mean to be a progressive Democrat? Well, it tends to be more left-wing, to be honest with you. It's more people-oriented, anti-militaristic, not quite as
corporate. There you go, good one.
Not in terms of corporate politics and the influence of big money. People versus profit. This particular chapter has been in existence since 2011, when it was formed here. And we've been active in not just campaigns, but also issues. And issues, which is something that we're going to talk about a little later, both issues and campaigns. But what I want to do, I had some people that wanted to make a quick announcement, and I definitely make quick. I know we can all, if we have something to announce, we don't need to explain it too much. Just one way, if you can make an announcement, you can also give me some information. I can send it out to everybody by email, or if you have something in writing, you can leave it with folks, so we don't have to say it out loud. It's actually not the most effective way to present something necessarily. So I know specifically Alan has something going this weekend.
Yep.
In terms of going to Tracy, you might want
Is this
to.
the time to speak?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so I'm supporting a Democrat for Congress in Congressional District 10, which is just to the east of us. And her name's Dottie Nygaard. She's a nurse. She has been very supportive of Medicare for All and of Healthy California, which is an attempt to kind of have Medicare for All in the state of California. I met her in Philadelphia. She, like me, was a Bernie Sanders delegate to the DNC. She's very progressive, and anyway, she is running for Congress. If you are interested in supporting the most progressive Democrat who's running to unseat the Republican in CD10, we're going to be carpooling from Monterey on Saturday. We're going to leave Monterey on Saturday at 7:30, swing by Salinas and pick up folks there, and then we're going to drive to Tracy, and we'll be going door to door on behalf of Dottie. And we're going to do it on Sunday, and we'll be starting 2 hours later. We'll be leaving at 9:30 Monterey and 10 o'clock Salinas. So if you could come either of those days, and you'd like to help really get a progressive woman in Congress from this purple district next to us, this is an opportunity. And you can just see me afterwards.
All right, thank you. Andy?
Yeah, just want to alert people that there's a state initiative that, if passed, would move California to be in a small group of really progressive states in the United States. That is called the Voting Restoration and Democracy Act of 2018, and its intention is to wipe out felony disenfranchisement in California. and make it so everybody in prison and on parole can vote. And as we all know, there's a disproportionate number of people of color that are affected by this, and it's really a legacy of the Jim Crow era that we even have felony disenfranchisement. So I urge people just to look up the VRDA, or Voting Restoration Democracy Act of 2018. They're collecting signatures now, and it'd be nice if you could get organizations or as individuals collect signatures.
6 or 7 million people. Some states is for life, right? And I know, Gertrude, yes?
I just wanted to say about Congressional District 4, there's a similar candidate to Donnie Nygaard. They're both actually endorsed by the Justice Democrats and brand new Congress. And her name is Rosa Calderon, and she's running to unseat Tom McClintock, and I think she's also going to be having similar, I know that's much farther away, but she's also going to be having similar like kickoff initiatives with door knocking and phone banking. And we might even be able to do remote phone banking for both of them.
You bet.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
It's critical race.
Anthony?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anthony Leitra, and I'm with Regina Gage's campaign for county supervisor. She's another Democrat running against a Republican, another Bernie Sanders supporter running against a Republican. And this is a swing district. Believe it or not, District 2 is majority women and Democrat. So we need to flip it. And the good news is you don't have to drive 5 hours to door knock away. You can just do it. It's like a 15-minute drive, and we really need your guys' help. This is a really critical race for those of you who worked on Measure Z. You know the importance of having another supervisor on there who will support your efforts, and it's time to get out someone who has voted against Sanctuary City, has voted against Welcoming Resolution, and is awful when it comes to land use policy. So let's elect a progressive Democrat here locally and take out a Republican.
So we're going to
Anybody who wants
we're going to talk about all this a little bit later, in terms of putting all those pieces together. Mary?
My name is Mary Shaw-Coron, and I worked on Measure Z and Measure J, and I just wanted to mention that something really historic happened today. I don't know if you noticed the news, but New York City Mayor de Blasio announced that the city is going to divest itself of $5 billion in oil investments from their pension funds. And the other thing I think is really amazing is they filed a lawsuit against the 5 biggest oil companies that they feel are responsible for climate change. And as you know, New York suffered greatly, billions of dollars of damage from Hurricane Sandy, and it's expected that they are going to have to invest a lot to protect that island city from hurricanes and things in the future. So the reason I bring it up is because I think what they said is, I listened to the announcement, they are hoping to inspire other cities and counties and states all over the country to do the same thing. Because if this happens in New York, coastal cities in California could follow suit, as well as others that are affected by climate change. The city of Santa Rosa, I would be very interested with the fires that they've been having in Ventura and Santa Barbara. So this is an opportunity for really, even though the federal government is not acknowledging climate change, we can do a lot about it. So please urge your cities, Monterey, to divest and join lawsuits. I think Santa Cruz has already started a lawsuit against big oil. Thank you.
Okay, Omar, you want to make an announcement?
Yes, kind of also similar topic piggybacking on that is I'm currently working with the Romero Institute, specifically their Green Power Project, and we are organizing behind an effort to start a community advisory council within the Monterey Bay Community Power. If you guys know anything about that or have questions, I'll be out around after. I'll leave some contact information to kind of update people, but we're looking to mobilize people for the 20th, which happens to be the same day as a Women's March. There's a workshop that NBCP is having, but there's a caveat. Watsonville will be having their own women's rally as well, so if you're feeling torn, want to compete, or want to take part in both events, you have an option over there. We're also looking to mobilize people for March 7th, which is the date that the policy board will be voting on accepting an advisory council or a smaller, more kind of Confederate loosely based stakeholders group. I have our proposal that we kind of drafted up in tangent with other organizations available. I'll leave that available on the table with my contact information if you guys have questions.
All right, thank you. Okay, well, there's a thing I'm going to announce, which is because the Progressive Dems and the Democratic Central Committee have endorsed Public Water Now, which is currently circulating a qualifying initiative on the Monterey Peninsula. If you live on the Monterey Peninsula, I'm going to pass this around. I want you to sign it. And you can read about it. You can read the actual language there, and you can trust me that it's the right thing to do. If you live in the Monterey Peninsula Water Management District, you have 2 copies. So don't set it down. Keep it moving to the next person. And I'm going to start. I know Stu lives outside the district, and I'm not sure where Anthony lives. But anyway, pass it around. If you live in basically the Monterey Peninsula, sign it. And Bob?
Is there going to be a petition sign up
taking
table
ownership
for women's water?
Yeah.
For both water now? Yeah.
Yeah, you said, make sure you get the form in.
Yeah, we've already reserved a table.
Thank you. So the next thing is election of officers. January, we elect officers, and we've had, come on in, sit down, and help yourself to all this food back here. There's actually some pretty good stuff over there, I must say. You didn't get a chance to eat dinner tonight. So our officers currently are Gary Carnes. Oh, hi, Karen. Hey. Come on in. I'm the chair, and that's a funny thing to be, isn't it? And Natalie Gray, vice chair. Treasurer Judy Karras, Secretary Bob Coble, and Alan Happ is our rep to the Monterey County Democratic Central Committee. So,
and Wes is the alternate?
Wes White. Wes White is the alternate with Alan to the Central Committee. So let me start off and see. We'll start with the. Let me start with the rep to the Central Committee. Is there? Do we have candidates to nominate for our rep to the Monterey County Democratic Central Committee?
I would like to continue serving.
I would like to nominate Alan Hoffman.
I'll second that.
And Alan, I should have asked that, is willing to continue, and he's done a great job, obviously. We're moving forward, and I think in very progressive and doing more than we've done in the past. That's a whole other story. If you want to stay late, and we can talk. So anyone else who'd like to run and Wes, we should probably talk about the alternate too. Wes currently,
Do it as a slate.
would you like to remain the alternate, Wes?
I'm fine with it, yeah.
Okay, all right. So, any other candidates for those offices?
I got a friendly amendment.
Yes.
I mean, it's not friendly, it's my amendment. It's my motion.
Yeah.
I'd like to change that to nominate Alan for rep and Wes for alternate.
Alternate.
Right. Unless anybody else is interested, I mean, I can give away my alternate if somebody's more interested. Well, let's fight for it.
Entertain a motion to.
We have a motion.
Alan Hampton and Wes White?
Second the motion.
Yeah. Alan.
I think he seconded.
Andy is seconding my motion.
Who seconded?
Andy.
Andy. So to make sure Bob's getting on. Andy Shaw Carone. It's always nice to have last names in the minutes, just because 20 years from now, when someone's writing a book about us, then I'll go, Andy. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, for secretary, Bob Coble currently is our secretary, doing a great job. Bob, I know you told me you were interested in continuing. Okay.
I'll nominate Bob.
I second.
Any other nominees? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Okay, treasurer, Judy Karras, told me she's willing to continue for a year. And, we need,
Thank you.
That Judy Karras be our treasurer.
I'll second that.
And a second by Ellen Hampton. Any other nominees? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. All right, thank you.
Scully?
Let's see. Can we come, Natalie Gray, who's currently vice chair. And Natalie? There's Natalie right there. All right. Anyone else who'd like to be nominated for vice chair? Okay, need a nomination for Natalie Gray.
I nominate Natalie.
I second.
For
All right, Andy,
For vice
okay. That's first and second, okay, very good. All those in favor? Thank you. Okay, I'm willing to continue as chair for 2018. So anyone else who'd like to run for chair of the Progressive Democrats for 2018?
I nominate Gary Carnes to run to be our chair.
I'll second that.
Any other nominees? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
You have to be a Cal customer.
Thank you, okay, very good. The next thing we have is increasing our dues, so that,
Which way is this going?
anyway, it would be good. So, actually, that's a donation jar.
It's not due now.
We'll take the money now and with dues.
Right?
Next issue, number 5, is increasing our dues. So we're looking at, because it's the first meeting of the year, possibly, it's up to you, our dues are $10. I think the year before they were $5. And so there's a proposal to possibly raise the dues from a sliding scale of 10 to 25. So why don't we open that for discussion? Arlene?
I don't see any reason to increase the lower end, but if you want to increase the upper end, I would support that.
That's what it is, right?
Right, if it's 10 to 25, I don't see any reason to increase the $10 lower
Yeah.
part. If
Okay.
you want to say, hey, you want to get more, that's fine, but I don't see any reason why we would want to keep people out
Yeah.
and find $10 to be a problem.
Any other thoughts on? So, shall we adopt the sliding scale as proposed?
Yep.
About a motion to that effect.
I motion to adopt the sliding scale of $10 to $25 per membership.
About a second.
I second it.
Gary, clarification?
Yes?
Is it, on the bylaws, is it just, I think the dues paying members that can vote on these things, perhaps?
Correct.
So it's fine if everybody wants to chime in. I think if we were counting votes at some point, it is just the dues paying members that.
Yes.
And also, it's just the dues paying members that go to the numbers that go towards the big
Quorum.
committee regional things, right?
Yeah.
We have to have more paying members. They can't be just,
Yeah, that's a different definition, but in terms of qualifying for the delegates, right?
all right, sorry.
So if you think you're a dues paying member, though, you know how this goes, it sort of changes in the middle of the meeting, right? From those who are dues paying to those that aren't, so we have, the proposal is to raise, or to change the due structure, not to raise it necessarily, from 10, the sliding scale from 10 to 25. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Okay. Next thing on the agenda is the Women's March on the 20th, and the progressive Dems is, the idea here is whether or not we want to have a table there to talk about our chapter and recruit people as volunteers and contributors and basically spread the word. The Women's March is asking political organizations for $100 in order to participate at the Women's March with a table. Not anyone can march, anyone can attend. This is to actually have a presence there. So the question at hand is whether we want to pay $100 to do that.
I just have a question. Do we have somebody who wants to staff the table and is willing to staff the table? Because if so, then I would say let's do that.
Well, then we should answer that question. Who would like to staff the table if we approve this motion?
I would help with that.
Karen Araujo.
And I think we should make the donation even if we can't do a table. Support the women's march.
I think we need 2 or 3 people. Anyone else who'd like to staff that table?
So I'm going to make a motion that we do support the Women's March and have a table and support them.
Second by Ian Olson. We do need people to staff the table for a couple hours.
Yeah, I'll make phone calls, I'll fill shifts, I'll get people.
I can staff the table after the march. I really like the march, and then I will be happy to do it after.
Yeah, it really is before the march
And after,
the march.
not during the march.
I'll send it.
Everyone's going, right? Okay.
No, but they mill around and go into the speakers and stuff. I'll send it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so we'll write a check to the Women's March Monterey Day.
Gary,
And give
as
it
the
to-
treasurer of the Women's March, I would like to thank you.
Thank you. I'll go online and fill out the form. Oh, no, I already did.
Really quick, and we'll get the event on our Facebook page, but if you guys could share the Women's March info as well. There's a link to register your attendance. That's really helpful for us knowing who's going to be there. So please share that event info so people get the word out. That's on January 20th.
And that's, Alan, you do our Facebook page, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question
Thank you.
about that.
Bob?
Why are they issuing tickets for the march? I got one, but it doesn't mean anything to me.
Okay, there are 2 reasons for this. We like everybody to register so we know how many people are coming. Last year, they expected 90 people. They got 4,000. We don't want to do that this year. So if you wouldn't mind getting registered, it's free.
Yeah, I had one already.
Okay, great. The other thing is, everybody needs to know this, you're gonna need a ticket. You have to pay for parking this year. It's $4.
Take the bus.
Take the bus, fill a car full of people, but you need to go, and if you're smart, you'll do that early too. That information is actually on the flyer, and you can just go there and buy a parking ticket. You get in, they will tell you where to park or.
All 4,000 of us can just not pay. They won't dare issue tickets. Okay, let's not talk about that. Let's get back to our agenda. So that, I think we answered that one. Also, there's no, the actual sign making was done last Tuesday on this agenda. It says Sunday. We're not going to do that. But if you want a sign, if you're going to the MLK March or the Women's March, there will be sign making materials at the beginning of those marches. So if you don't have a sign and you're not going to make one, you can make one. We'll have materials there. You can make one at the beginning of those marches. So now under old business, we have an MST issue. I wonder, Arlene, if you had anything to bring up tonight about
So, Arlene Hoffa, I ride the bus every day in Monterey, CSUMB, because I believe climate change is one of the biggest problems, and I also believe in mobility for disenfranchised people. Hutch and Ian and I have formed a subcommittee to try to look into this issue moving into 2018. One of Hutch's biggest concerns was the fact that Costco can sell tickets for about $61 a month, and the rest of us pay like, what, $110, $115 something? They have apparently formed a group, and so they're getting group discounts for these Costco members, at least that's what we think. Hutch also attended the Monday meeting, and you want to tell us about that?
I'm proud to say that I was the member of the public at the board meeting.
What board is that?
It was one.
What board is that?
IMST board. And they actually charter, they have a coach, and that Sand City came, picked me up in an 18-passenger coach, the one of me, and off I went up to the meeting. And they seem like they're nice people, they seem like they're like trying to do the right thing and whatnot, and you know, they seem like they're flush with cash. So now's the time. And I did, when they said, you know, opened it to the public for announcements, I did stand up and say, hi, I'm Hutch from the Progressive Democratic Club, here from Monterey Democratic. Okay. And So we formed a subcommittee and we're looking to engage with MST to see what we can do about accessibility and increasing ridership. And generally, and after I sat down after that, Mr. Hunter Horvath whipped out a card and handed it to me. So they seem like they're amenable to sitting down and talking. And Mr. Pacheco's been good with getting us some information. But no, I think that there's something to be done with these folks. And I know that, Ian, and Arlene, you're wanting to work with groups that, do have to help people with accessibility. What I'd like to do is the folks that work, the working poor of Monterey, and we've got parking and traffic, and why can't we have that $13 pass that we had this last summer all year round for people that work in those high traffic and congestion parking areas? Anyway, so that's what they're up to at MST.
Sorry, anything else, Arlene?
No.
I got a question. So could the committee maybe meet with Hunter, the 3 members of the meet with Hunter?
absolutely.
We're just starting we're just fact finding.
Okay. So this will be, come back next month with something to act on?
Oh, now, if I could, I don't think I'm going to be available to go to the next month's board meeting, but I do think that it's very important that somebody from the Progressive Democratic Club be at the monthly board meeting, just to let them know that we're watching.
What day is it?
It's Monday.
Monday?
It's always Monday.
Second
and
Monday.
It's 10 o'clock, and it runs 10 to noon, and it's the second Monday of the month.
So we'll send out a written reminder, so no one's going to remember this maybe, but we'll have more information, we'll get it out to everybody so that we can show up, be consistent and persistent on this.
And there wasn't any representatives from the Republicans there.
Okay, the next issue that we've, Demetrio?
I have a question. Does what we're talking about in terms of prices for the MSP apply to the people from Salinas and the Salinas Valley?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, and one of the things that we're talking about that I really liked was apparently they're doing like fare-free weekends in Salinas for a certain downtown area. And that's great for people that if your primary means of transportation's, riding the bus, it sucks to do errands because you're on, you're off, you're waiting. And so at least if it's a free fare weekend thing, that just helps out with that. So, I mean, MST is trying to do some good things and with their community outreach too.
Thank you. Next thing is SB 5.
Karen's got a question.
Pardon me? Karen?
If you're looking for groups to augment, like if we need to have a certain number of people before we can get this group
5.
discount, only 5 people?
5 is the minimum.
Wow.
Okay, well, I was thinking it was like hundreds or something.
21 to get the biggest discount and 5 to get the.
So I know an organization that they want to partner, and it's with homeless folks, and I know it's something that the board has been looking at, trying to get discounted passes, and we're not going to change their mind to offer that to folks who are homeless. So maybe a strategy would be that. So I'll just ask the subcommittee to keep that in mind. And it's called IHOP.
Wow, very good.
Just quickly, that is a strategy. We haven't forgotten about the partnership you said we should make, so.
All right, sounds good. Dominic, SB 562, single payer, you had taken a contingent to speak with Assemblymember Caballero, where this bill is sort of stuck in the assembly, and any updates on that?
I've been so stuck on the convention and Women's March, I just kind of fell off on that. So I'm kind of waiting for the Women's March to be over so I can just ask about other stuff.
Okay, very good.
So, hold on, I fell off.
Appreciate it.
Gary, do you want to mention Healthy California and Bill?
Well, probably not. I'll come back. That can wait, I think. I'll just get through the business here. That's good. Now, the Next Generation Climate Voter Reg Grant. Karen, I'm going to ask you to speak up about that.
So we applied for a grant with, I'm cold, that's why I have my babushka on. We applied for a voter reg grant, which was super modest. It was $26,500, and to do voter outreach to millennials and people of color and environmentalists on the Monterey Peninsula, and we did not get it. The Monterey Bay Central Labor Council did get a grant for $80,000, and that is supposedly to encompass this area. I don't know if they're doing that work, so it might be a good idea to check with them and see if we could, I mean, they're hiring people to do the work, but they're not doing it over here. So that would be one kind of quick thing we could do. And the other would be applying again for the grant. It was quite modest. Someone suggested that perhaps if it was the Democratic Central Committee that requested the grant instead of our club, that might be a way to go. So we could ask that go on the agenda. We could look into it and ask have the materials to have the Central Committee look at that at the 4th Tuesday of this month, what the possibilities might be.
So this is Tom Steyer, right? One of our billionaires who's giving us and we, like Cameron said, we applied for a grant. I think, my guess is a Central Committee, the Labor Council, they're much, more authority, they cover a larger area. It would be worth a try. I mean, there are 58,000 unregistered people in Monterey County. And that's not abnormal. It's not like that sounds like it is. It's a lot of people who aren't registered. But also, registration is high in our county, higher than it's ever been. But people turn over. There's always a need for voter registration drives. So I think
do the turf, and it's really good to learn the turf, learn the communities in preparation for the November elections too.
Is he the guy that's running ads saying that Trump is unfit because he's mentally unstable?
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are in really bad taste.
He's been running commercials about impeachment. He's got 4 million signatures. He's got a lot of money. He's trying to fund the grassroots, so I give him credit for that. So I think the question is whether we want to approach our parent organization, the Monterey County Democratic Central Committee, to apply for a voter registration grant. If hearing no opposition, maybe we'll do that.
And we can call them, and ask how can we make this better, right? You know how when you get turned down for a grant, they're happy to work with you and say, here's what we would like to see more of in this. So, is there anyone that would like to look at that with me before the next Central Committee meeting? Look at last year's application at the grant.
Anyone have any grant writing experience?
I will, Karen, I've written them.
Okay, thanks. I'll email it to you.
There's always a need for voter registration drives. And I'm thinking that the Labor Council is focusing just on the Salinas Valley, Watsonville, and not the Monterey Peninsula, though there's always room for 2 voter registration drives in the same geography. It's not like 58,000 people who aren't registered, so different approaches. So good, all right, thank you. Now, actually, Omar already spoke about Monterey Bay Community Power.
I can speak a little bit more if you like.
That's good. Thank you.
A little bit?
Thank you, sir. Omar will stick around. And,
Yeah, I'll be here till the end, so if you have any questions, I'm available to talk about it.
I think we already approved $100 to participate in the Women's March. So, new business. Everyone has this agenda in front of them?
Most people.
So quickly, just to review what we did in 2017, which was a quote off year, no elections, only one school board, very small. Because the Democratic Party tends to basically work on elections. We've worked on various issues, not just elections. But in 2017, there was sort of an uprising all over the country, and a lot of it happened here. And I know you can't read this, I thought I was hoping it would come out bigger like this. But a lot happened here. And I think, there was no permanent organizations, you could say, that were formed. There was existing organizations that participated, like Planned Parenthood and the ACLU and the Democratic Party, but there were also many indivisible chapters, Swing Left, lots of other organizations who sprung up and activated people. Labor unions were part of this. And this all adds up to a lot of activity, a lot of marches, rallies, and protests that happened. And in many ways, it didn't affect Donald Trump and the National Republicans very much. But what it did is it put local politicians on notice. That there's a lot of people that want change. And also, we met a lot of new people. You know, generally, the political class tends to be a couple hundred people that give money and they go to all the parties and it's the same people. But there were thousands of people, and who were on the Women's March, on labor marches, on,
March for Science?
Pardon me?
March for Science?
March for Science and.
March for Immigrants.
I forgot, but they're all listed
Charlottesville.
here. Maybe you were at most of these, but they were.
Mayday.
And this isn't just the peninsula, this is Salinas. And I'm sure there's many other spontaneous activities that occurred where people were able to mobilize themselves, at least temporarily, to express their frustration and their desire for a better world. And the difficulty is always trying to mobilize this energy into something that can make a sweep and change, who's in charge of this country. To minimize corporate control, to minimize corporate control of the Democratic Party, to change, to flip not just congressional districts across Pacheco Pass, but also flip city councils and school boards. They're all up, all in June and November. So I sent this out at one point, but I can send it again, and it's something that's, there's probably some things that aren't in there. I know there's many high school kids that just walked out of school. It's not necessarily up there because they didn't call the press, they didn't notify anybody, they just did it, right? So, generally speaking, I'm talking on behalf of the collective, I think we can be proud of ourselves for what we did.
And what have we done this year so far?
So far this year,
Oh, I tell you what we did on
January
first.
1st.
well, we had a cannabis party here on
Lead the people.
We the people. We had a cannabis party here on January 1st, and that was first on the ballot in 1972. So it's been a long time coming. And so actually, the other thing, and then I'll move on. I think what this showed is that even though we lost the national election, we won locally. We won locally. We did as, but part of it's, when you think about how many people came out to, I think the largest number of people that turned out was the Women's March, 4,200, and that's the number the campus police gave to us. If you could get all those people to come in and work on these elections, there's no way we can do it. But, so quite often what motivates people isn't necessarily electing someone to the Board of Equalization. It's an idea, it's a piece of legislation, it's a concept, it's how we treat each other and how we treat the planet. So this may not work, but I was going to have people, this may not work considering the setup, but people would like to write up here what motivates them. What would motivate you and me in 2018? You can come and take these pens and write it down.
What if we raise our hands and you just write for us?
Could somebody help me do that? Maybe Alan can.
His writing is not better than yours.
I got
Whoever.
I've been in the classroom, Alan.
Now what?
Raise your hands.
The other thing, before you start, the other thing is, once we do this will be a short exercise. We can go each person, but please don't go into a long dissertation, your PhD, on why healthcare for all is important. Because I want to get to the next part of this before it's time for us to party at the end of the meeting. So, and party, this comes next. This is what motivates us to be here and what may get you out to overthrow the government.
Well, I got the pens, I'm gonna make prerogative.
Okay.
He's
Okay, maybe we could go, should we go around?
Climate change.
Natalie?
Climate change.
Well, shout it out then.
Power to the people.
There you go.
Right on.
Healthcare for all.
That horrible handwriting.
Why don't we do your idea of going around, Gary?
Well, looks like
We could just kind of move this way.
Yeah, we're
So
going
Lila and Bob didn't get it. What did you say?
comprehensive?
Yeah.
Women's equality and equity.
That word reform gets, you know, people who really want to destroy something use that word reform.
What is it, please?
Reform.
You know,
It's a symbol for Bob, did you want to say that? No. Okay.
Who to choose as part of that?
No? Judy?
Yeah, this is going to be called Connecting the Dots. In May of this year, there's going to be the Poor People's Campaign. They're going to be connecting militarism, racism, all of these different things. They're going to have a series of events. I hope we'll support it, so you could maybe just say
Connecting the Dots.
Very well.
Education,
What kind of education?
world class for everyone. Here, update.
Dominic?
Call out fake Dems.
Say that?
Call out fake Dems.
What motivates me is reflecting on our process and celebrating our victories. That keeps me motivated.
Very well.
Gertrude over there, Steve, Mary.
You don't want to keep moving this way?
Okay. Then you don't have to.
One of the fake news is making sure we're understanding the initiatives,
Understand initiatives?
all the initiatives. You get a list of initiatives, and I don't think a lot of people understand that.
Is that public water initiative still going around?
Bob,
No?
I don't know where it is.
Anything you want to add?
Oh, I would create our own means of information.
For the club or for the Democrats?
For the Democrats. Quality.
Who's going to put information,
Yeah.
communication? Anything you want to add?
Right to organize.
Where'd that come from? Oh, you've already got one.
He's moving around.
Okay.
So restorative justice and anti-racism and LGBTQ plus rights and youth rights and poor people's rights.
Your handwriting's going to improve, Alan.
it's going to get smaller.
In the back, Steve.
Most of us feel better about ourselves when we help others. How about like a Make a Difference weekend every month and ask everybody to do something nice for somebody this weekend.
Day of service.
Friends? Andy?
Concrete victories.
What's that?
Concrete victories. In other words, a policy that is changed by a government, an initiative that is passed, an institution that is established, something that is concrete, because that leads to more things happening.
Public banking.
Yes.
Anyone else over here? Anyone else?
Tuition-free public
Let me
university.
come over here.
I think having measurable goals so we can actually see what we've accomplished could be a good
Standing up for justice.
Yes.
Yay. Fighting back against oppression.
Anything that hasn't been said?
Electing women to public office.
Used to be that.
Like in number 85. You know how many women have contacted Emily's list this year?
Hasn't been denied. No one Margaret Thatcher.
It's like 20-some thousand women
Really?
across the country. There's only 900 the year before.
Okay, Gary, what next? We got a list.
Okay, now this was like what motivates you. It doesn't have to be an exhaustive list. I mean, there's plenty of things, like someone mentioned earlier about restoring the franchise to folks who have been committed, who have a felony on their record, which is, as well as folks who, ban the box. That's something. There's several things that have disenfranchised millions of people, mainly African Americans, across the country. Voters' rights, yeah. So, this being an election year coming up, part of this that what motivates us, these can all be ideas, issues, policies, and specific legislation like healthcare for all. It's SB 562? 562. So some of these things turn into legislation. They don't always, right? Initiatives, they're on the ballot, like Measure Z or public water. So the first election that we'll have to deal with is in June. And this is what's on the ballot. Then there's an election again in November. And some things aren't on here, like school boards and city councils. Those are in November. So, but there's plenty of important things here. And some of these, like U.S. Senator congressional districts, which includes like Jimmy Panetta here, but also these districts in across the all of them. They're all up every 2 years. Members of Congress. So, but we have several, and I crossed out Darrell Issa, but that particular district is still up. It's still in play, right? Even though Darrell Issa won't be there on the ballot. So there are, and Alan mentioned going to Congressional District 10, and Gertrude mentioned a different district, 4 up near Sacramento. So these are districts outside of our region that are going to be targeted because Hillary Clinton beat Donald Trump in those districts, but the congressman there, who's a Republican, also won. So there's some voters who are sort of a mixed brain on this stuff. There's also plenty of voters who didn't vote, and plenty of voters who aren't registered to vote. So this will be something that we need to consider how we participate in that. And just to give you a little history, the Democratic Party in Monterey County not only interviews and recommends endorsement for candidates running for things on the local level, like down here, not on these. These are all done by the state party. So we can't pick, the state party does, I mean, on these big ones, on the Congress. And then the local ones, we do locally. So, and in the past, what the Democratic Party does, and that's what we're talking about here, is what we're going to do through the Democratic Party, is who are we going to endorse for local office, and who is the state party, if any, going to endorse for these congressional seats. And there are some really important things in our own community that we look at, like sheriff. It's important who the sheriff is. I think people, this last year, there was just a lot of outrage at the way our, I forget the guy's name.
Burnell.
Yeah, Steve Burnell. Some of these people won't even know who their county treasurer is, you know, but they do make important decisions in terms of where money's invested and things like that. So there are decisions to be made, and then in June, what we do usually is we do two things. We go door to door and distribute the endorsements to Democrats, and we do a mailer. Then we do that again in June. And the one thing that's not on the ballot and that's collecting signatures right now is Public Water Now. That'll be on the November ballot. So we have to decide where we want to spend our time. And we have two choices. One is, and they're not necessarily, is it really a false dichotomy or whatever it's called? We can focus on our local offices because it's important who sits on the Delray Oaks City Council and who the sheriff is. It's also important, because we want to take back Congress, who wins in these districts. And in the past, here locally, in this office or in our old office in Monterey, we would routinely make 20 to 30,000 phone calls around the country to swing districts. We would get lists on the phone computers from the national party, and we would call into North Carolina and Georgia, places like that. And that could happen again, though it seems, because a congressional district in North Carolina is the same as one in California, it might make more sense for us to focus on the ones in California. And because we get some extra benefits by knocking these guys off.
You
Because
have the
they're,
right accent, too.
pardon me?
You have the right accent.
They what?
That's the right accent. Don't worry about it.
I got my hearing aids in, it's still not a problem, okay.
Does Oprah live in any of those congressional districts? She's got a home in Montecito.
Wow.
Well, Oprah can help us, but not by running for president
No,
necessarily.
not president, no. Congress, maybe?
I would like to see her on a bus tour. So there are some advantages. I'm just going to mention one example. This is a decision we don't have to make tonight. And I've repeated this before, but see this Jeff Denham district, which is takes in Modesto and Tracy, it overlaps with the state Senate district, which also takes in the Salinas Valley. So there's some advantage for us here in Monterey County working on electing a Democrat to the state Senate, that's Senate District 12, right? And then overlapping with that district at the same time. So, and that may be true in some of these other districts, but we have overlapping geography in this particular one. And just so we can get two wins at the same time. And the Senate district, as far as we know, the two candidates are Ana Caballero and Luis Vallejo, that are running for the district that overlaps somewhat with, to a large extent, with Jeff Denham's congressional district.
Gary, have the people got to give their plug for who they're working for earlier? Can I give a quick plug?
Sure.
All right.
Tell us the district.
State Senate District 36, down south. It's the northwest corner of San Diego County, Oceanside, Encinitas, Carlsbad, Camp Pendleton, then the southwest corner of Orange County, San Clemente, Dana Point, San Juan Capistrano. So you got a bunch of rich Republican white people and human beings.
Who's the candidate you're supporting?
Ana Caballero, Margie Castellano. Gets stuck in my head. Margie Castellano. And she's obviously Latina, a naturalized U.S. citizen. She's from Peru. She's not a politician. She's been into ecotourism, then she got into video and film production in the rainforests and volcanoes and stuff like that. She was a Bernie.
I do know her. Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah. So she needs some help, and she is running against just the worst kind of Orange County Republican.
Okay, so thank you, Hutch. There are.
Oh, and the one Daryl Ice was down there. So when he announced, I'm out.
So a little more. The plug is whether there's some advantage for us not calling North Carolina, but working with in-state to flip Congress. While we're here, you don't have to necessarily go to Tracy to do that, or you can do it from right here. And we have done that in the past, and I did try to get a quote today from Scott Beggs, who's ran the Hillary campaign here, what it would cost for us to get to outfit this office with computers and phones, so we can make those.
We can use cell phones.
Right.
Cell phones and computers, yeah. Karen?
So, do we want to make a recommendation to the Central Committee that they perhaps move forward with this strategy of making phone calls, just what you said, in overlapping districts? I mean, offer some fodder for the Central Committee to think about. I mean, they could choose another path, but I mean, being assertive about stating what we're thinking and making sure our voice is in the decision making.
Well, it's something to put in the mix, as well as looking at candidates, running for local districts, so that I know lots of people are going to be probably interested in flipping Congress, and because they follow that more than they have, like Virginia Gage, for example, who's running for Board of Supervisors, important district, something we want to win. Regina's a good candidate. We don't have unlimited money, we don't have unlimited resources, so how do we focus our energy? And how do we get this, not only ourselves, but the Central Committee, the Women's Club, Democratic Women's Club, and other branches of the Democratic Party to work together?
Mary has a question.
Mary?
Yeah, I think actually our priority should be local races, because I'm not really, having worked on Measure Z and Measure Z, for example, I really question whether we have that much resources to actually, I think we could help out at the end with some of the key races outside there, but I think our priority needs to be in this region and those races, because I think those are really important to get progressives, because otherwise if you dilute yourself and you don't have that much resources, I think then you might lose, like in this race, Virginia Gage versus Judge Phillips. I think that one's going to be challenging. Actually, Judge Phillips has Don Chapin behind him and a lot of money. So I really think, and other campaigns too, I think that looking at Ana Caballero, Luis Alejo, I think we need to decide who's more progressive and probably help the person who's more progressive. And it's a huge area. The same with the assembly race. Robert Rivas versus Peter Lareau Munoz. Those are really key races. And I think there is a risk that we may not be the most progressive person. So if we are truly the progressive Democrats, I don't think we should really focus on truly progressive people.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that?
To me, it seems like, I agree local races are important, very much so. But at the same time, California is a supermajority state as far as the legislature goes. Sure, some of the legislature may not be as progressive as we like, but to me it seems like the real damage is being done in Washington, D.C. So in my mind, the most important thing is to not let Trump continue having a majority in Congress.
I honestly think, and this is my idea, there's like chemists and there's chemical engineers. So a chemist develops a formula and then a chemical engineer makes it a grander scale. So my idea that I had for myself personally, if I had enough money, was that I was going to be looking at 10 different races and giving a monetary amount to each of those races for this year personally. And I think that maybe we could do something like that. Maybe not monetary or whatever, but
Identify 10 races.
Identify 10 races we want to focus on at varying levels.
Right. Andy?
I want to in some ways jump off what Mary said. The Democratic Party is in the death spiral across the country. And if it's ever to recover, it's going to be because California can show that we can actually do something different than what's going on at the national level. And the obstacle in SB 562, where our assembly was unable or unwilling to take on the medical establishment, we need to have the kind of voices in there that will make that happen, because Obamacare is on life support. And we're going to have lots and lots of people in our state that don't have medical care. We're going to actually have to prove that a state can do something. And a lot of the Democrats that we have, frankly, aren't going to do shit, because they're collecting most of their money from the same corporate entities as Republicans would if there were actually viable Republicans running for legislature in California, which there aren't. So they give their money to the Democrats instead, and they sell us out.
Pretty much just echoing Mary, we do got a lot of races we're gonna have to hit. And if we're making phone calls, I mean, I know Alan and the teachers at FBC, for those races for the FBC school board, these are a lot of people who are stepping up for the first time. They're gonna need a lot of people pushing their name out there, you know? So yeah, it'd be nice to help out in other districts, and we can certainly do it now and then. But we're gonna have a lot of new people, hopefully, stepping up for some of these races, and it's gonna take a lot of people to push their name out there. Let's be honest, we're not gonna have the money to really publicize them like Republicans would. So, I mean, we gotta take care of home before we start thinking about kicking ass somewhere else.
Arlene?
So earlier this meeting, we authorized expenditures that would include a table at the Women's March. Could we identify some of the local people that we like that could then table at our table? That would be a way to support our local people. I don't know if we can move forward that fast on agreeing to let people be at our table, but it seems like a way we could help them right now.
Well, one thing is to try to recruit members for our chapter, it seems. And let people know we're here, how to find us. I mean, what we need more than, we need good candidates, and we need lots of good volunteers. Money's really not our forte, right? We don't really do money. We need a certain amount. We need $100,000, let's say, locally, to do what we do. We're not going to give money to anybody, probably. We're going to do people power stuff. That's going to, but it isn't just us in the room that are going to do this. We need 10 times this many, or 100 times. And the folks are out there, I think. We just need to connect with them, so we can do the antidote to money, which is people power. Anthony?
I was just going to say, I agree with Dominic and Mary. We need to focus on our local races. Yes, Washington, D.C. is all messed up and everything like that. But just as Democrats have come out and supported Dottie Nygaard, and they're going to be filmmaking for her. Our revolution has endorsed Dottie Nygaard. They're going to be filmmaking for her. They're going to be doing a lot of stuff for Dottie. What we need is to flip Monterey County Board of Supervisors. Aren't you guys tired of having to line up and go and say, Luis, don't take Mary and Jane off of whatever committee? Aren't you guys tired of saying, come on, Luis, support, or come on, Simone, support community choice energy? Aren't you guys tired of having to fight our own Monterey County Board of Supervisors to make the right decisions?
Would you give a disclaimer with that, or
Maybe speak working for a
give more information on that? I agree with you, and
what? And we need help for Regina Gage's campaign for county supervisor. I mean, Dominic, you said to call out fake Democrats. I mean, so many Democrats have said, "Oh, Regina, you're so great," but I mean, John Phillips, I mean, he's a great friend of mine. I mean, we really need more people to stand up and support Regina. This is a very crucial race, especially if you guys worked on Measure Z. So we really need to put district too, and we could use you guys' help a lot.
I agree with you 100%, and I came in late. Did you share that you are working with the campaign?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Demetrio?
I guess I'm gonna piggyback on what some people are saying, but my take is that I wanna get involved with somebody that's gonna go in there and not buck the system, but reform the system.
Make it better.
The system is not there for the people to have anything to say with what is going on. So it's not gonna do me any good to back somebody in there that when they get elected, they're gonna conform to the status quo. We need somebody there that will represent the people no matter what. And I know that the system is set up to conform you to what they think you should, how you should vote. Because I went through it with Hartnell Community College. The system is there to, they were trying to tell the new electees how to vote and what to do, what not to do. And we need somebody there that can think for themselves, because I've seen it too many times where people just go in there and get elected and then just go in there and perpetuate a system that's not fair, equal, and just.
There you go.
Well, just one sort of chronological thing. You know, there'll be an endorsement process later on, right? It's not like it's sort of down the road a little bit, but not too far away. And there's where candidates are interviewed. They've written questionnaire and their oral person kind of.
Fair chance.
So that's something that'll come up.
I gotta do something.
And where things like Demetri was talking about will be brought up. And Ian back there?
Just quickly, I agree with the local aspect, but when you're asking for volunteers, do you need to let people volunteer where they want to volunteer? Like we just heard 2 or 3 people are going to Tracy, Sacramento, other places. So as a group, we shouldn't say, come volunteer with us, but you have to work on an issue that we want you to work on.
We can't tell people what to do. Some people might come in and say, I want to work on this, and then we say, no, you got to work on this, they're going to leave. So you have to listen and actually find out what works for people. Not everything may work for people, and of course quite often we think we're the only people that are going to do all this work. No, it's got to be, the main thing is to recruit other people, and they're out there. We're going to meet them at the MLK March and the Women's March. So how do we connect? That's the big deal, yes. Anyway, Judy.
Yeah, I agree with what Mary Ann and Dominic and other people have said, but I also want to say one quick thing, is that we're going to focus on candidates. However, Panetta is our House representative. There are important issues. He's on the Agricultural Committee. He has not taken a stand on a number of pesticides that are being used in the county that Safe Ag, Safe Schools are working on. So let's not forget Panetta this year too. Let's pressure him. Let's make sure that he, as our elected representative right now, comes through and supports all of these progressive things. On some things, foreign policy, he's not good. On other things, he's good. Immigration, but I just want to toss that out there.
That's right. So we're not going to find candidates. They're strong. They're even stronger when they have a majority of like minds on a board.
Gary Stewart.
What's that? Over here?
Stewart, yes.
Stewart.
I think Mary and I
Stewart.
both.
Do you have your hand up?
Oh,
No.
well, I do have campaign information for Regina,
Okay.
so I'll leave it over on the table, and anybody who wants to volunteer can go on our website.
Very good. Alan?
So, I think there is something to what you're saying about, look, we don't have unlimited people power. On the other hand, and I was kind of taken by Rue's suggestion of, 10 or 5, a certain number that we focus on. But in the end, what Ian said is true. I mean, people are going to gravitate to the races that inspire them or matter the most to them. So I'm not sure, as much as I understand what you're wanting to do, I think in the end, we've just got to let people bring things forward, and people will either want to help or not. I do want to say one thing, and I also do agree, in principle, locals matter the most because we can influence them the most, so I definitely encourage people to support Regina. And I think we also want to look at that sheriff's race. Those are 2 that I think are really important locally. But then I also do agree with what Adam said, like Congressional District 10, which is really close. That's huge, and it isn't actually, there's a hedge fund manager who's a Democrat who's running there too, who's raised like $700,000. If people power don't show up and help Dottie, he will be our Democrat, and he will ostensibly be, another Democrat in Congress, but it isn't the same thing as having like a regular person there. So, I don't know. That's all I'm going to say. Oh, one last thing. Luis and Anna, I think we got to stay out of that until it's settled, because there are folks here who I know support Anna, there are folks here who support Luis. They're both progressive in different ways, and I really think it'd be a big mistake for us to get into that until it's settled.
Well,
That's our whole day.
just to emphasize, I think our role really, I mean, we do endorse the progressive chapter, as it does the Central Committee, Democratic Women's Club. We always try to be aligned, and we also hopefully are aligned with labor, you know, Monterey-based Central Labor Council and its affiliates, so that we're not at counter purposes in terms of who we endorse and who we campaign for. And we try. We do pretty good sometimes. But there's, I think the main thing is and part of the next step here is outreach. And part of it is, I think we don't have to settle this tonight, but in order to start meeting people, we have to do things like go to the Women's March. We have to go to the MLK March. We have to have tables there. We have to let people know that we're here, and this is the follow-up. This is where you can come to take the next step after this march is over. And it's to work on elections, to be involved in the endorsement process, and to help build capacity so that we can maybe think, well, we can do both. We can elect good local candidates, and we can also work on these congressional districts. I mean, we've done it in years past, but it takes hundreds and hundreds of people to do that. And we've done it before, and I'm pretty sure we can do it again. We just have to be here. And some of the things I think we're going to have to start doing that I'm going to recommend our club do, which is raise more money to keep this office open. Start staffing this office on a regular basis. And also advocate for the opening of a Salinas campaign headquarters, which isn't necessarily tomorrow, but at some point soon. That's, you know, Seaside, Marina, and Salinas are sort of the future of the Democratic Party. Younger population, people of color. We moved out of Monterey. We moved here intentionally because this is the future of the party. The money's still in Carmel and places like that. So as someone said the other day, send the money. We'll spend it wisely and we'll do the right thing, okay? We'll win elections. They'll love us, okay?
Gary, there's Adam has his hand up and Andito's. And Mary. I just wanted to add a bit onto what I said earlier, and then I promise I'll get off my soapbox. But I feel like we in California in particular, and in some other states as well, but particularly here, we are very privileged, and I've felt this way ever since Trump got elected. Although it hurts to say that still. And you know, some examples of that are, right, in California, by and large, women are not afraid of losing their right to choose, right? Whereas in other states that are led by Republicans, that's a genuine fear, right? California is not at risk. You know, our legislature, by and large, acknowledges that climate change is a problem and that we need clean energy. That's not something that we have in other states. You know, minimum wage, right? We are proceeding with minimum wage increases here in California. That's not something that people in other states get. So to me, I just feel like it's, you know, it's easy to fall prey to privilege and decide, oh, we're going to focus on our own races. And yes, local races are very important. I mostly work on local races. But I just feel like we cannot leave the congressional races by the wayside.
Mary's before me.
Yeah, I mean, I totally sympathize with what you're saying, and I have made phone calls, you know, to other states. And I mean, I think people should follow their passion, and maybe, I mean, given that we have a very diverse group with different goals, I mean, hopefully generally in, you know, the progressive direction, maybe the approach would be to, you know, to have people initiate like you and invite people who want to and it resonates with them to go with you and still do that. But I guess what I was hoping is that the Progressive Democratic Club here could be a force for making true political change that's very progressive in this county, because my work in this region, but I think especially in this county, because my work on Measure Z this past over a year, almost 2 years now, has really allowed me to see this county is not truly as progressive as a lot of people think it is. And especially in the Salinas Valley, where I did a lot of the Measure Z organizing, and you know, we don't have the good candidates. We have to find them. And so I think that the progressive Democrats could be a force for doing that. I think we're underrepresented in this group in terms of people from the Salinas Valley. And I think that we need to work harder to get those people involved. And but I think the solution is not to say everyone has to do that. I think that maybe what this group could do is the folks who want to work on local stuff could work on it, and people who want to work on congressional stuff could, or other states, could be empowered. I think the idea is to encourage that, and then if you keep bringing more people in, which is what you were talking about, then we will have enough people. But my experience from Measure Z is that finding enough people is challenging. And when you want to really see someone like Regino, say, this is just an example, or whoever else win, I mean, when it really comes to the period when you have critical canvassing, it's like you don't have enough people. So what I was going to suggest, because you don't have enough people even here, I worked on Measure Z and was all over this county, and we had 3 offices. We had one in Monterey, one in Salinas, and one in Greenfield. Most people didn't know about a Greenfield office. But, so it's very big, and so you're covering Monterey County, right? So I think what you need to do is build alliances with indivisible groups. A lot of those people are not, they really have great ideas, but they're not really doing anything politically effective. But this group could be a connector and bring those people in and bring the Bernie folks, other progressive groups that are working on issues, and really connect them. Because what we discovered in Measure Z is we were forced to. So we formed these little coalitions ad hoc. And I think that's what we should be working on. That's what I would like to do. And maybe what I would like to suggest is that people be empowered in this group to start taking initiatives like that, to build bridges with Indivisible or other groups, so that we have enough people.
I think that has been happening for the last 12 months, but we're going to have to continue doing that. A lot of groups that were focused on marches, rallies, and protests, pretty much, hopefully, we're going to have to transition to finding good candidates and and being good volunteers, or being campaign managers, or being candidates ourselves. So I'm going to wrap up with that, if you don't mind, and just repeat a few things. If you'd like to pay your $10 dues, Judy's the treasurer, or 25, or whatever, the $10 minimum. We still need, if you didn't sign the Public Water Now petition, please do if you live on the Monterey Peninsula. We need now volunteers for the Martin Luther King March on Monday. Let me know, or let somebody know that you can staff the booth. We also need volunteers at the Women's March on the 20th. And we're going to start needing volunteers to keep this office open. One reason people aren't finding us because we're not here, so we need to be here, I think, more often. We also need money, and there's a jar of money here. Where did it go?
It's right here.
I was
count it, and Arlene was going to double check, but if anybody wants
Pass it
to.
around.
I have a question.
Let me have that bottle.
Okay, here we go. Sorry.
Here.
I have a question about Mondays.
All right.
About what?
About Mondays. How long will somebody need to be tabling on Monday?
A couple hours, maybe 2 hours.
Until what time?
Let me get back to you. I want.
This is Karen.
Okay.
Karen Rue might be one
around.
depending on time.
That's a donation jar, right?
Any portion of the time would be helpful.
This is donations, it's not your dues, this is above and beyond. It costs us about $150 a day to keep this place open. So, would someone pass that around, please? Set it down, pass it around. Okay, if there's any closing thoughts, if not, we can communicate without, sort of socially.
I just have one very timely announcement. A lot of you know that Measure Z was rejected by the judge. 2/3 of it was struck down by Judge Wills. The supervisors have to make a decision whether they're going to appeal Measure Z. We're already appealing it, Protect Monterey County, but every person here should communicate with the Democrats, Mr. Alejo, Mr. Salinas, on the Board of Supervisors, and let them know that there's no way that they could be supported and be viewed as progressive Democrats if they're not going to support an initiative that passed with 56% of the people. I think that that's something that should be very timely right now. People have to communicate. with Mr. Alejo and Mr. Salinas.
Can I add something?
Okay, I'm gonna break it up, so people can get up and actually
15
socialize.
15 seconds.
Okay,
Okay, Board of Supervisors, every time they have a meeting, they have a public comment for stuff that's not on the agenda. So 25 or 30 of us show up at one of the meetings, we can tell them some of the stuff we want.
All right? Or email or something, communicate.
okay, don't leave, just let's all communicate in a different way.
Register for the club.
If anybody likes beer, come talk to me. I want to ask your opinion about a fundraiser.
Nice.
Okay, there's beer over here, you can help yourself.